Coming up, with the Rugby Championship over, we look at which All Blacks impressed the most. And we get the crystal ball out to preview the November tests. With the All Blacks touring South Africa next year, what's the future of the Rugby Championship? And we celebrate Falcons and awkward moments. Stay tuned for a bit of a chuckle. Yeah, there's some awkward moments indeed. We tried to find some of the three of these guys, Aaron Cruden, Stephen Donald and Mills Muliaina. You'll have to stay tuned for the rest of the show to see if we were able to go that far into the archives. But we want you to get involved and join the conversation on Your Shout today. Here you go. Here is the first poll question for you. Is the All Blacks Wallabies rivalry still a great one? Scan that QR code. Make sure that you cast your vote, and you can also send in any comments or questions. And if you weren't up in the middle of the night like the rest of the country, here is your recap for round 6 of the Rugby Championship.
Bowers through! George Bowers seals it for the All Blacks.
The All Blacks sealed a second half performance and the test matches well and truly in the bag.
We've got a kid that's his second start in a test match running our team.
Yeah.
So Marcy, what you got to do is keep backing your young men.
We're devastated not to let them finish up as winners. James Slipper, he's everyone's big brother in the team, and we love him, and he's been one of the greatest servants to Australian rugby we've ever seen.
We've got a few scars through this Rugby Championship. There's some great lessons for this team to take forward and what it means to put on a black jersey in front every week. Probably haven't done that for this Rugby Championship.
Quinn Tupaea in the fend! Tupaea's in! Quinn Tupaea goes bang bang!
Yeah, we're really pleased. Yeah. A lot of double efforts. We're going to join Connect tonight. It's really a performance we're proud of because we've done it back to back.
They are now on the top of that Rugby Championship leaderboard, as we saw there. So fingers crossed for Argentina tonight, if you, of course, are cheering for the All Blacks.
Malcolm Marx spins, reaches out and scores the try. This is all about the Springboks. Back-to-back Rugby Championship titles for the very first time.
May everybody in our country, when they look at this team, take courage, take hope, take heart in everything that we do as a team.
What an occasion that was. South Africa going back-to-back in the Rugby Championship for the first time. And how long, Beef?
30 years.
30 years. And what an occasion, in front of 77,000 at the neutral venue of Twickenham, of course.
Yeah, obviously Twickenham, Argentina took it there for, I guess, revenue, and with the amount of Saffers that live in England and all chasing their passport, it was probably a brave effort to take them there because they wouldn't be short of support there.
Pumas made some money, though, taking it to Twickenham. What did you think of the All Blacks Rugby Championship campaign? They finished off second. They haven't won the Rugby Championship trophy under Scott Robertson. 4 from 6 this year. And as Scott Barrett said, there are a few scars from 6 weeks of this competition.
Yeah, well, they started well, didn't they? I mean, when they went over to Argentina, then they came back. Obviously lost in Argentina as well. It's been sort of a mixed sort of championship. And Scott Barrett hit the nail on the head. It's fronting every week. And the pleasing part for them leading into the end-of-year tour is that they won. And I'd say they won comfortably last night against the Wallabies. And that's got to give you a lot of confidence leading into the Irish Test, Crids.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the competition, we all know it's been extremely competitive this year, it just shows you where I think the quality of world rugby is right now. But when we focus back into the All Blacks, I think, as you can see through what Scott Barrett said, there's a few scars, but I think they would have learnt a lot. I think they understand the answers are within the group, and as you're saying, they can go into this end-of-year tour now really confident off the back of a couple of back-to-back victories. Rating for you, Beef, of the Rugby Championship? Not the tournament as a whole, the All Blacks results.
Well, I think you probably thought at the start of the championship, 4 from 6 is probably pretty likely because of, I guess, both the Aussies and Argentinians' performance against the Lions. So, 6.5. If you want a rating, 6.5 would be probably my pass mark for them. You guys are all nodding in agreement? 6.5? I think it's 6. I think you do. I like where we've got to, and you've got to think about some of the players that we've introduced, right? Even from the French sort of test match leading into this, they're in a good place. And I know they went through a lot of that adversity, and you've talked about it. There's some scars there. Sometimes you've got to go through that. And there was a lot of pressure after they lost that game against the Springboks. But the good thing is they've actually, they've bounced back from the Eden Park, and then another performance. They talked about consistency this whole week, and they did that. They did that in tricky conditions.
What I liked about it was there were a lot of aspects in that sort of game where they connected well. They're all on the same page. They lost a few moments, but they won them back through a really some solid defensive efforts.
What about Quinn Tupaea? There are questions flooding in on your shout, and you can get involved by scanning that QR code as well. Is Quinn Tupaea a new look 13 for the All Blacks? What do you reckon, Aaron? Because you talked about reintroducing players. He was reintroduced in the last few weeks because he's played there off the bench, but at a 13 starting for the All Blacks.
Yeah, I think we're probably accustomed to seeing Quinn in the 12 jersey, possibly covering wing as well, and I guess there were question marks of how he was going to transition into that 13 jersey, but just knowing Quinn a little bit, I knew he was going to take the bull by the horns, really accept that challenge, and we saw last night, I suppose, the qualities that he displays, and I think it's the skill set's there, the physicality's there, but I think Beav, the pace you saw last night too, that was possibly a question mark, but he does have it all.
Yeah, the pace from a defensive point of view, Kirst, obviously you're going to get tested as far as defensively on your pace, and I think we noted last night in the coverage, Millsy, that Australia went after him a couple of times of a few of their set plays, but he ticked that box. For me, the other interesting thing around it all is I reckon it changed Geordie's game, and I think it changed it for the better. You got to see Geordie came out a couple of weeks ago and said, I'm not marring on it. Well, he doesn't have to be, and now with Quinn there, Quinn can take a lot more of that role and be the battering ram where Geordie last night, there was subtlety with his kicking, there was subtlety with his passing, which is probably the more styled midfielder that Geordie is because his skill set's huge.
For the whole international season, you've been saying on our podcast, which is also available on Sky platforms, the Aftermatch with Kirsten Beav too, that he's not a 13, but he finally convinced you last night that he is a 13.
Well, I think, as I said there, the way that they blended Geordie and him together, they were able to play as a combination, and when it was needed for hard carries, Quinn was the go-to guy, as we saw in the try there, Leroy Carter, and then Geordie was able to do the subtle stuff. So I think as a combination, there's some nice contrast there, Mills.
Yeah, and it frees them up to actually run the cutter, frees up Geordie to be able to organise some of the other stuff that perhaps Damien sort of needed on the day, and without him thinking, hey, I've got to get to the gain line, and then I'm out of the game. Who else is going to step up and try and control that? He's now got another threat outside him as well, and Leicester Fainga'anuku, and then another guy right out a little bit wider, and Leroy Carter that's heavily involved. So this is where I was kind of talking about. We're in a really good place. It's important now we take another step up, and by taking another step up, I'm meaning that we're all on the same song sheet when it comes to our game plan, and that's probably a lot more emphasis on the coaches and the responsibility of where the coaches can get this team.
Well, Quinn was on the receiving end of a brilliant try last night after Jordie Barrett hongied the ball. That's what Quinn called it anyway. So we've gone back in the archives and found a few Falcons of our own.
This one tapped back by Moreno. Was that a header? Hang on a second. The header going. Keep going, son. Go, Uruguay. This is going to be the best replay of all time. Yeah.
Kicked downfield by Horwitz.
Oh, that's brilliant.
May. Oh, Falcon. What's going to happen here? Is this a try? Jane, is he okay? You reckon they won't make a few highlights tapes around the world? Bang!
Just go! Oh! Came off the head!
Well, the Wallabies didn't need that.
Barrett puts another little grubber along the ground. Barrett chasing. We're going to try and sit up. Potter's there. The All Blacks kick through. Tupaea chasing. Quinn Tupaea. That's a Falcon.
That was a Falcon, but I tell you what, the finish was not too bad, was it, Aaron?
It was beautiful. Pukana at the end there too, but I liked what Quinn said. Geordie hungied the ball rather than a Falcon possibly.
So Quinn was obviously a standout last night. Who else has stood out for you across the Rugby Championship, Beav?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously, we've talked about how a little bit disjointed it is as far as the performance goes, but Artie has been there most weeks as far as up to what Artie does, and I thought the impact later in the competition of our nine, here's Artie, he's played 7 and 8 all through the campaign. Obviously, when they beat the Springboks at Eden Park, he was immense. That moment there, potentially turn the Bledisloe game. He's been everywhere, but for me, him and Cam Roigard, I thought what Cam Roigard brought to that second part of the championship, his game management, his IQ and everything that he brings as far as a skill set, I thought that he made a massive impact.
Yeah, Cam Roigard was huge, isn't he? We've obviously talked about Quinn, Cam Roigard. Did you like someone like a Leroy Carter, who many on the text line are saying he is the best winger in New Zealand right now? Could you argue?
It's hard not to argue that. I think the energy that he's brought, I look at it from a different perspective. I'm looking to the future, and many, before the season started, wouldn't even thought that Leroy Carter would have got an opportunity to be in the Chiefs. He came into the Chiefs, he got an opportunity there when someone got injured, he took it. Again with the All Blacks, this is his third test, and he has been impressive. Just the energy that he's shown, and as I said last night, he learns on the go. He enhances sort of his, some of his strengths. He also enhances some of the things he's not so good at. But we've now found a guy that's sort of, that's filled that gap now. And it's hard to argue to say that, hey, he is probably the form winger in New Zealand right now.
What is he not so good at? Surely he ticks every box.
Probably a hongy.
He'll have a chance of the Falcon on the end of your tour. Have you liked what you've seen from him?
I've absolutely loved what I've seen from Boomfer. I think he's just so well balanced, Mills and Beeve, in regards to a football player. He's got a big engine. He's going to chase every kick, contest everything. He's hungry for the ball. He doesn't just stand on his wing. He gets in and around. And a couple of the tries he scored, he's actually just burrowed underneath guys, and that sort of stuff is infectious. It's complementary football to your forward pack as well, not asking them to carry the full burden and the full load, and he gets in there and he's been extremely impressive in his debut season. So if he's cemented his spot for the end of your tour, Beeve, what about on the other side? Someone's mentioned Leicester Fainga'anuku in his first game back since the Rugby World Cup quarterfinal 2 years ago. How did he go last night?
Again, he wasn't far off Quinn Tupaea level as far as coming out of nowhere to get the start. He was outstanding. We saw a couple of his line breaks. When they come back from overseas, you're always wondering about physically if they're still as sharp as they were, Kirst, but he certainly is. His ability to ride tackles and withstand hits, there's one there. That's McRae that's had a crack at him there, who's as good as anyone in the world as far as number 7s go and defensively. And then I think he put one on Soleti there as well. His just ability. Caleb Clark's obviously a powerful man and a powerful winger, and it was just a like-for-like replacement, Millsy.
Yeah, what this game last night illustrated is the fact that, there's competition for those positions. The wing spot was always something that we needed to get to. We're trying to find guys to put there. Last night illustrated the guys that have stepped up, and that's Leroy Carter's, and through limited sort of game time, even Leicester Fainga'anuku, his first test, they're out and out. You guys now that you say, okay, those are the guys that we proceed with. Quinn Tupaea, putting a performance in like that. And so now we're looking a little bit more settled in that backfield department, the Roygards of the world. The key now for the All Black coaching staff is we've got to get world-class players. And so we're starting to actually implement world-class players. The key is now the guys that are coming through with them. Even since when Rieko Ioane came on, there's a little bit of extra step in his running style. He was really energetic. So we've got the players. The key now is getting, they always talk about that in the environment, getting, two guys that are world class in the one position, and that's the challenge they're going to have. But there's no doubt we've got players that are great. It's getting that game plan sorted, everyone on the same page, and then increasing sort of where we get to.
Leicester's been playing centre in the NPC. Do you think he'll be a centre and get an opportunity there for the All Blacks, or do you see him as a winger? I know Jeff's not here, but he's always said he didn't think he was a winger because he's a little bit bigger and his body type has changed since going over to the north.
Oh, man, I tell you what, it's changed again. Like in the last 3 weeks.
He's dropped weight.
He's dropped. And like when he first came back and was playing for Tasman, he was huge. He was, and he was, the way he was playing, it was like he was playing schoolboys, how big he was. He's trimmed down in those 3 weeks. I like him at wing. I think where we are at the moment, it's important that we don't sort of chop and change. And Quinn last night in establishing what he's sort of done off the back of some confidence and more game time, I think they're looking pretty settled.
OK, well, let's head across to Western Australia then. Justin Marshall and Jeff Wilson, they're up for us.
Yeah, hey Kirsty, yeah, well the All Blacks now, they've got a couple of weeks off to recharge, reset, look forward to an end of year tour. Marshy though, I got a sense last night here in Perth there was a sense of relief from the group, getting that win against Australia, getting back-to-back wins in the Rugby Championship, gave themselves a chance of winning the Rugby Championship. But ultimately, Scott Robinson's probably a little bit happier now.
I'd say he'd be happy. Look, at the end of the day, the situation is what it is. They couldn't control it, what was happening in London. All they could do is go out and put a performance together, which they did. And look, there was some selection issues that came about, and a little bit of question as to why they are happening, but they came off. And obviously, in the finish, they won the game comfortably, and they ended up equal with South Africa on the points table. So, hey, it wasn't a bad rugby championship in the end.
Last night, I thought it was pretty good in terms of the fact, really clinical.
Yeah.
Conditions played a huge part in the way they had to play, and I think some of the selections ended up assisting that. The fact they were very direct, they looked after the ball when they had it, defended really, really well, and Australia threw everything at them. But we responded, and that's what I suppose the public and fans and the coaches would have wanted, the players to respond to the challenges in front of them. Now they move forward and they look forward to an end-of-year tour, a Grand Slam as such, not an official one, but Ireland first up. What are you expecting them now to look at, and are there going to be any surprise selections?
Well, it'll be interesting to see, because obviously players will come back into the mix, and there's some unknowns as well. But successful in terms of selections last night, but you get Caleb Clark back, and you can't complain about the way that Leicester Fainga'anuku went. Obviously Quinn Tupaea in the centres did a magnificent job. Does Billy Proctor come back into the mix? Because we were told he was just tired. So does that mean that selection was just a one-off when Tupaea went so well? So there's a few there, Larkai at number 8. A lot to think about, but what an exciting tour. When we chatted to Razor off camera last night, he basically said, yeah, challenging tour, but exciting. You know, they've got Ireland, they've got Scotland, they've got England and Wales, and that's something to look forward to. Sort of a Grand Slam that doesn't count as a Grand Slam, but how good.
Have you got a sense? I've got a sense now that I think there's a blueprint for how the All Blacks are trying to play. There's no doubt we're putting a lot of big bodies out there, being really direct, playing really flat, making sure that we're trying to attack that advantage line. We've tried to play a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see whether or not a Ruben Love gets an opportunity on this tour. You know, Beauden Barrett's obviously going to be carrying a little bit of a niggle when he comes back into the fold. Do you think they're just going to continue to tweak, or have we started to see in the last couple of weeks in particular how we want to play the game?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? And look, I feel that at the moment they'll continue to tweak. Like, it wasn't perfect last night. At the end of the day, if you give good teams in the world that much possession and that much ball, ultimately it's going to hurt you at some stage. We managed to salvage that last night with really good defence, as you mentioned, but you've got to be better than that. And in terms of not having that much possession up until half time, I should say, that's not good enough. So I don't think they're quite there yet, so we might see some innovation, we might see some new players out there, but equally we've got to continue to grow in our attack, and equally, you know, we've got to make sure that we are out there and performing each week.
Well, it's a job done here in Perth. I'm looking forward to getting home later on this afternoon and watching Otago next weekend get one step closer to an NPC title.
Oh, very good. You know you're taking on Waikato, so next weekend may be your last weekend in the NPC for the season, Jeff. Here is that Grand Slam, not Grand Slam. Not sure how that one is being worded, but this is the schedule coming up. In 4 weeks' time, the All Blacks take on Ireland in Chicago, that old place, Scotland at Murrayfield, England at Twickenham, which they've renamed Allianz Stadium, and in Cardiff, Wales will be the final test of the year. So we've got another poll for you. How many tests will the All Blacks win on the Northern Tour? 1, 2, 3, or will they go 100%? Where are you going, Mills? You're usually the oracle at this time of year. What are you feeling?
I reckon they'll go 4.
4 from 4?
Yeah, I reckon they'll go 100%. Start's the key. I mean, the Irish won't have a game together. We're coming off on a high. The next one, Scotland, for me is Scotland's going to be
jitters.
Because when they toured here and they played the Māoris up in Whangarei, they look good. They're playing a different sort of style. But I think it's where the team's at individually. We can take the whole 4. So
4 from 4, but Scotland is the one that makes you a little bit nervous, B, for you?
Yep, 4 from 4. Finishing in Cardiff would make you nervous, I'd have thought, for other reasons. But
what are those reasons?
We'll move on. I think England would be the one that I think if you look at the Lions and what players, I think when you put them all back in their home nations, I think England is probably the most complete to give us a bit of a go at Twickenham. But no, 4 from 4 for me.
Ireland, easy win?
Oh, look, it won't be easy there in Chicago, but I anticipate we will get the job done.
What about for you, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go 3, just law of averages, I reckon. Yeah, It'd be the first and the third game that I'd probably be most concerned about. Yeah, I understand Ireland wouldn't have had a game, and a lot of their test players were with the British and Irish Lions earlier this year, but yeah, going back to Chicago.
You played in that test?
I played in that test, which was pretty crazy. We were well and truly outnumbered in regards to supporters. They travel well, the Irish, so that was a pretty amazing experience, even though it was hard to obviously accept the loss. Historic for the wrong reasons. That's the perfect way to put it. But yeah, I'd probably put an asterisk between the first and the third. Yeah.
A lot of people, 58% of you, are saying 4 from 4. So none of these Northern Hemisphere sides are scaring the fans, clearly. Marshy brought it up, Ruben Love. He has been mentioned about 1,000 times on this text machine in the last 15 minutes. So let's talk about him. How much game time can you see him getting? Has Razor missed a trick? That's what Jason's asking from Canterbury. Surely we're vulnerable at 10. We're hearing that Beauden Barrett is okay. Should he have got more game time so far, and can you see him getting much on the end of your tour at 10?
Yeah, I hope so. Obviously, Bodie's got an injury, so he might be quite limited coming back. Obviously, the game last night, I think, dictated a little bit how much time Ruben got. In an ideal world, I'm sure they would have loved, as an All Blacks coaching group, to put him on a bit earlier at 10, but the game sort of didn't allow that. But yeah, I'd have to agree, it would be great to build a little bit more depth in that number 10 position and give the likes of a Ruben a little bit more time, Beef.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot will depend on Bodie's situation. If Bodie travels...
He's okay. We're being told that he's okay.
Well, if he travels and Damien's obviously going to be there again, the text message people are probably going to be frustrated because I can't see him getting a whole lot. They might obviously give him some against Wales and Cardiff, but again, if you're thinking you've already got 2 established guys there on a 4-game tour, they're going to have the even share of it. And this hasn't been a series where we've been out in front, yep, we can give them half an hour here and there. So, yep, obviously it would be great to get them there, but I just can't see it.
We haven't got the luxury, unfortunately. You know, I'd love to see him get more game time, but you've got to think about where the team are at. And you want to be coming off this end-of-year tour having succeeded and having won all the 4 games, because the last thing you want to be doing is second-guessing yourself leading into next year. Look what happened after the South African game when we got an absolute hiding. You know, we're not as forgiving anymore. We're not as forgiving when we kind of lose. So I think when you're in their environment, you're building on the back end of this Wallabies performance that we did in Perth, and you're building a team around, you know, Damian McKenzie. I thought, you know, apart from his goal kicking, which has been good throughout the whole season, they were pretty steady given the conditions. So you build around these sort of guys, and he may get an opportunity off the bench. And I'm not too sure what game it is. It's probably going to be Wales.
So while it sounds like Beauden Barrett will be fine, available and ready to go for the end-of-year tour, Tupou Vaa'i took to social media, his own personal Instagram account, and basically declared that he has been ruled out for the remainder of the season. Sounds like meniscus, so did an injury at training on his knee, and it looks like he won't play a part. How big a shame is this for the All Blacks, and what does it mean for the end-of-year tour? Because clearly they've got to replace him, don't they?
Yeah, they will have to replace him, and obviously it's a shame because Tupou's form throughout the whole season's been outstanding. He's been one of the All Blacks' best, backing up, I suppose, his form through Super Rugby with the Chiefs as well. I guess, you know, one timely thing coming back was we saw Paddy Tupou coming back in the fold last night as well, and that will obviously, you know, strengthen the All Blacks in a different way. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of Tupou, just seeing his growth and development, his leadership in the black jersey as well, which has been amazing, and it's obviously a tough game and injuries happen, and it's disappointing that this is hit right now.
But we're growing. I mean, how good it is to have a youngster, Holland, step right into that. And that's what they've been able to do, having, you know, Fabian Holland go straight into starting. He's been impressive this year, right from the get-go. He's played some massive minutes for such a young man, and he's led the way with lineouts. And then when you look at, you know, down the track on the Lucy department, because, you know, that's where Tupou Vaa'i's actually played as well. You got Larko, Peter Larko coming through. You got Sititi, that's, you know, that's kind of their Karifi. So they're building that. They're building that nicely. But it's comforting that you know that you've got Patrick Tuipulotu, who's got a lot of experience, a Holland that stepped in. Then yes, we've lost Tupou Vaa'i, but imagine if you hadn't exposed Fabian Holland to all these still test matches.
Has Simon Parker then cemented cemented his spot at 6, and Fabian Holland's just a straight swap for Tupou and the locking department as a starter?
I like Simon Parker. Any time, I think he's filled a really nice role. You know, he's solid. He doesn't make too many mistakes. He's starting to find his feet also in the outside channels. He's similar to sort of a Leroy Carter. You know, the more game time he gets, when you're not talking about a loose or blindside not doing his role. There's something going on that's really great, and I like his solid performance. And given where we are in the All Blacks environment right now, that's kind of what you need from your 6, a really solid performance, a guy that goes out, does his job, and connects with the other 2.
Yeah, and the other 2 are interesting, Kirst. When you think about the fact that Parker was injured at the back end, like I was injured at the back end and missed most of the international season, if you join the dots, I wonder if that's the loose forward trio that the coaches always wanted. Because how they've ended up there, when you think that both of them have been out for so long, I wonder if it's Alakai, Parker and Artie was always the thoughts.
Leo Willie was part of the group as well, and then Parker sort of came in and took over.
I tell you what, I know I'm just completely changing subjects here, but I am just going off your shout and what you're mentioning. Ruben Love has basically broken this machine. Everyone's saying he needs to have an opportunity, but Razor's just waiting for Richie Mo'unga to come back. That's what they're saying. That's what everyone's saying that's watching.
Well, there is. I mean, you can't hide from it.
Is that why Ruben's not getting a crack?
No, I don't think it's anything. You don't put a first 5, and Crowds will tell you this, you don't put a first 5 who's respectfully probably still learning. You know, he had a bit for the Hurricanes, but you don't put someone on in a situation where it was about an 8-point game last night in teeming rain in Perth with the championship still on the table, do you?
No, you don't, and that's why I mentioned earlier, you know, the game was still in the balance. That sort of dictated, I think, a few of the substitutes and what the All Blacks did. So, yeah, and it's a fair point, Beav. I think Ruben, you know, he'll probably even say himself that he's still, you know, applying his trade and learning where he needs to, and hopefully he is getting that sort of growth and development in that environment. So he may not be getting the game time, but he is still in that environment, and no doubt he'll be on the All Blacks end-of-year tour. The end-of-year tour is 4 straight test matches starting in that old place, Chicago against Ireland, Scotland, England and Wales. So the grand slam for the All Blacks to finish the season.
Kia ora, welcoming everyone to Soldier Field on a magnificent day in Illinois.
Hello and welcome to Edinburgh. It's into the heart of Scotland we head for the next stop on the All Blacks Northern Hemisphere tour.
And welcome to our live coverage of a test match we always look forward to. The All Blacks against England at Twickenham. Never a dull one as the Red Dragon breathed its fire on the men in black.
Looking dangerous again. Men in green. Murray up the centre. Connor Murray. Here's Heaslip. Well, he picks it up quickly and off he goes. Drops it off the Henshaw. Robbie Henshaw scores it.
It's there for New Zealand. De Groot quickly through the hands. Barrett sends a kick out. Here's a chance for Talia. He's in. In his first test match, Mark Talia scores.
Now the prospect, boy, we've seen some of these today, and it's worked brilliantly again. Here's the pace of Rico Ioane. I think he's going to go all the way here. Rico Ioane, what a try. Been really good, Will Jordan. Now he tries to do it himself. If it sits up, it does. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Men's Rugby World Cup is coming to Australia. It'll be big, bold and spectacular. With an expanded format of 24 teams, 52 matches and 7 incredible host cities, Australia 2027 is kicking off a new era for the global game. Expect thrilling rugby, a few innovations and a unique Aussie twist. Let's see how it all works. On the 3rd of December 2025, the Rugby World Cup draw will divide the 24 qualifier teams into 6 pools of 4. For 6 unforgettable weeks, Rugby World Cup 2027 will take Australia by storm. a global celebration, a new era. This is rugby like never before.
Can you believe it? The Men's Rugby World Cup is just 726 days away and counting, all live and exclusive on your home of rugby, Sky Sport as well. Before we just mention this, hold on a minute. I said Ruben Love was breaking our Your Shout machine. Aaron Cruden is now breaking it. Tim from Christchurch says, Beavers call-ups, they're past it, but get Cruds on the Northern Tour plane, please. Would you take a $1 contract to jump on the Northern Tour fast?
Oh, back up in business class again. Wouldn't say no.
Another one says you need to come back and claim Cruden corner. Up the turbos.
Oh, I tell you what, when Waikato played 1 or 2 earlier this year, the bucketheads were giving me plenty on the field wearing the other colours.
Whole lot of love for you on this text line. But what about the Rugby World Cup in 2 years' time, Beef? It is going to be bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, and it's Australia. Yeah. So Australia, they host great events. It's an easy flight for us, so no. Can't wait. I mean, I haven't quite started to count the sleeps down, but...
726.
726, but looking forward to it nonetheless, Kirst.
Samoa, one team that are yet to secure their place in the next Rugby World Cup, Mills. This is a team that has been there for so long. Surely they get their spot.
Oh, it's hard to sort of say whether they would. I mean, they haven't got any of their top-end players. A lot of them are playing NPC. It's a tough one to sort of see Samoa because they've been. I mean, if you think of '91, I think it was, or '95, or '91 when they beat Wales. It's sad. It's sad, but hey, it's been something that's been brewing for a long time, and it's come to this now.
So we are midway through our Rugby World Cup cycles for the All Blacks, the Rugby Championship. There's a little bit of confusion about whether it will be in play for the next couple of years. We'll talk about it soon, but Victor Matfield, the Springboks great, had his say during the week.
Best Rugby Championship we've ever seen. I think for the first time we can almost compete with the Six Nations, where we say, listen, we've got 4 teams that can win it. Every game is sold on. I'm looking forward to the New Zealand series, but what does it mean for Australia and Argentina? Yeah. Of course, we want them to stay strong. If we have a Rugby Championship, it should be like this year. It should be competitive.
Yeah, that is Victor Matfield talking on Supersport in South Africa. So here is another poll for you. Should the Rugby Championship be played every year? Yeah or nah? Scan the QR code to get involved. Have your say on the poll or send through your questions or comments. Maybe you too want Aaron Cruden on the plane on the end of your tour. But what do you think, Mills? Is this a competition that should be played every year, or do you like the idea of these full tours, like what will happen next year when the All Blacks tour South Africa? No Rugby Championship next year.
I'm looking forward to the tours. There's no doubt about it. I won't lie. I'm looking forward to the tours because what it would bring, it's going to bring something different. It's enlightening. But I suppose in some ways for a lot of people, we didn't expect this from the Rugby Championship where it was so competitive. Argentina has also sort of come to the party as well. One thing that it does sort of cement is far out. It's needed. Both South Africa and the Australians have sort of bumped up their sort of quality as well. So does it need it to be every year? I think so. I think so. It's just, how do you balance it up with tours at the same time, Beef?
Well, yeah, the tours balancing thing is, but I think, of course, it has to be. I mean, we've always, historically, both Argentina and Australia have had their moments, but they've come back now at the same time. And I think Victor mentioned the Six Nations. Well, the Six Nations is a great event, and all the games are an event, and the game day and all the rest of it. But when Australia and Argentina get their house in order, which they have now, there's nothing that can match the competitiveness of these 4 teams who are traditionally, let's say, conservatively in the top 6 of the world. And that's where they historically live. So it'd be an absolute tragedy now, after finally getting those 2 teams back to the Box and All Black level, to do away with it.
But we are doing away with it for next year anyway. 2028 is a TBC. Would you like to see the Rugby Championship or the tours, or maybe can you have both in the same calendar year?
Yeah, well, that's the question. I don't know if I'm a year now or a nah year, to be honest. I think I'm similar to Mills. I am really excited by the tour. I think, though, when you sort of put your thinking cap on, if you were to go down the tour route, the quality of the tours would have to be, and obviously in South Africa next year, we know we're going to get top quality. When you go to other countries, is the quality of competition we're exposing our All Blacks to really at the level it needs to be. So it is a tricky one, and it's hard to argue against the level of competition in the Rugby Championship this year, right? And if that just continues to grow, I think you do have to have that yearly. It's just where you can fit tours in, and, you know, powers that be above us are trying to work that out.
Who's it benefited most?
The All Blacks and South Africa.
Exactly.
It doesn't benefit Australia and Argentina at all.
Victor isn't silly. He understands that, you know, and for us as well, they've gone to another level. Look at the style of play that they're producing at the moment.
But don't we want the Southern Hemisphere to be strong?
100% we do.
All of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Not just half of it?
Exactly. And that's where they've got to come together and don't go this and that and then be like us. You know, year nah, here. You know, they've got to actually start to grow it. And what's produced this year from the Rugby Championship is they've got to grow it, and so it's a yearly thing.
And what you saw from the Lions tour of Australia, and I know Australia's a different circumstances to us in South Africa, but is the modern day tour able to have competitive midweek games? Yeah. And realistically, there's probably very few countries. Yep, if you came to New Zealand and played the Super Rugby teams with loaded Super Rugby teams, by that I mean All Blacks in it, then yep, it'll be competitive for whatever team's coming. But otherwise than that, I think you're going to get cricket scores like we score on the Lions tour, which then makes you think, well, if you're going to have a tour, it's a series. It's not a tour as such.
You still watched those midweek games, though, didn't you, B? You were thoroughly entertained on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, the point start was always sort of
plenty of questions coming in here. Grant from Otago says it would be good if we could make it 2 more teams like the Six Nations. But then you're back to square one, aren't you, making it competitive once again?
We've always talked about the islands, right?
Yeah.
And we've just spoken about where Samoa's at. And so are they going to be competitive, or are they going to come here and get hidings? And we still haven't grown that part of it. So it would be nice, yes, of course, maybe another team. Because we've got to remember, we also started at the Tri-Nations, you know, then we brought, you know, the Argentinians in. But at this stage, who would it be?
Another message in here saying, why do they have to skip the Rugby Championship for next year's tour? There were 4 weeks of nothing between the French series and the start of the Championship. Can't you have Rugby Championship in that window? Is there too much rugby? Does that make too much sense? Where do you sit there?
Yeah, it's... I don't know where I sit there. Probably like from a player's point of view, it's obviously, putting that in there before going on a massive tour to South Africa, whether that actually fits, you know, logistically. But, yeah, I do like the fact that it's generating conversation, though, right? Because I think that's a good thing. Like, with where rugby's at right now, the more conversations we can start having, and you're not going to please everyone, but, you know, ultimately you want to see the product continue to rise as it is right now.
Yeah, question in here from Jeremy saying, what happens with the Bledisloe Cup test next year? Well, let's talk about this great rivalry between Australia and New Zealand. We put the poll question out to you. Is it still a great rivalry? 80% of you do say yes, it is at the moment. 20% are on the nah bandwagon like you, Aaron. Where do you sit? Are you a yeah, nah when it comes to the rivalry? Because if you look at the stats, and the numbers don't lie, this championship between New Zealand and Australia, the Bledisloe Cup, has been very, very one-sided for a very long time now. Have a look at this, Mill. Since 2000, there's been 75 games played, and if you look at the average game score down the bottom, the All Blacks have been well ahead of Australia.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? I think the rivalry's still there. I think there's elements of the rivalry that are there, even though we've sort of we've dominated and we've kept the Bledisloe Cup for a long time, since 2003. I'd love them to explore a third test. I know at the start when we were trying to win it back, but that Anzac one-off, you know, I know that, you know, I think they're doing it, you know, the Super Round, but wouldn't it be great if we could have an Anzac test where it was part of the 3 sort of Bledisloe match, and imagine going a third test now. After, well, we would have won it, right? But I mean, it would be great, Beef.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Anzac Day test it's just got to be done. Rugby doesn't own that space like I guess the other codes in Australia do, and you can imagine that makes it a 3-game series. And yeah, those numbers aren't pretty from a rivalry point of view, but we're all brought up on the fact that it's Australia. They are our greatest sporting rivalry, so of course it still exists. So I just think we need to suck it up, and we need to have that standalone part of the Bledisloe series test match in the middle of Super Rugby, and whether it's a week off Super Rugby or we just take 25 guys out of our super teams, I mean, they rest and rotate anyway. I just think it's a no-brainer.
You like that idea?
Well, yeah, the Oracle and Beaver have spoken. I do like that idea.
Yeah, but you're going to be on the plane for the All Blacks very soon, so we've got to get your
He's
thoughts
part
on
of the
this.
25 that I'm talking about.
Yeah, you'll be released for the Anzac weekend clash.
Oh, it would be cool though, right? Like the hype around it, I suppose the atmosphere that would bring, it would be pretty cool and quite unique, I think, to venture something like that into the equation.
Yeah, Jan from Tupou says, it never gets old. It never gets tired beating Australia. Of course, in that April window that you're talking about next year, it will be Super Round in Christchurch. First time at the new Te Kaha Stadium as well. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Christchurch people don't text in yet. Well, let's stick with that next year. But moving forward, once we've opened the new stadium, I think it's a good idea, Millsy.
Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Would love a Bledisloe match the following year, right? Yeah,
Could we have it?
Anzac, there you go.
Let's just have a Bledisloe there as well.
There you go. These two have sorted out the schedule for the next couple of years as we build up to the Rugby World Cup, which is 726 days away, of course. Stay with us here on The Breakdown. There are still plenty more to come. The NPC is well and truly alive, and that includes this guy who's still kicking around.
Sliding through Howe, good quick hands out wide, back inside. Fainga'anuku, diggy, to the try line.
So it's okay, Auckland. That's a chance now. Otago will have it here. They should score. Cameron Miller under the posts.
Now Preston away from Plummer. Can't bash him. Now a chance out wide. Solomon!
Eki wins a well-worked line out. Lauaki straightening it up beautifully. Jacobson floats the pass wide. Salamio.
Got it. Well, that's nice little dab by Flanders. Von Rice, Devon Flanders. Oh, how good. How good is that?
How good is the NPC? It is business time, quarterfinals time. We've said goodbye to 6 teams, Harbour, Southland. Unfortunately, Auckland, Manawatu, Wellington are defending champions, and Northland as well. Starting on Friday night, Otago will take on the might of the Waikato Union under the roof there at Forsyth Bar. Saturday, 2 matches, Bay of Plenty, Tasman, Hawke's Bay, Taranaki, before Canterbury and Counties Manukau go head-to-head on Sunday afternoon. We'll start off with you then, shall we? How have you been enjoying the weekend's action? You still got it, don't you, from the tee especially?
Oh, it's
Match
been
winners.
cool. Yeah, look, it's talking to a lot of the boys in the changing room after the games, and anyone can beat anyone on the given day, which is really exciting. I think NPC, it's where we all started, isn't it, gentlemen? And it's a great competition. It unearths a lot of talent, and still a couple of old battlers running around.
Two to be exact, and they're both playing for Waikato at the moment.
Wear the 10 jersey week on, week off. But it's been really cool, and obviously now, at the crunch time of the season, and some pretty good quarterfinals coming up.
Yeah, do you think Waikato can overcome the Ranfurly Shield holders who have put it away for summer coming up this weekend, Beef?
Yeah, I mean, Otago's had a wonderful year, but when you think about potentially who the Moolus might get back...
Who are you thinking?
Well, I think
Who's coming back?
a Luke Jacobson, a Semi Penifina, they're locked in. I'd think a Leonard Brown would have to be considered. And then you've got these 2 masters in the number 10 jersey, and no one else can rival that in NPC rugby. So
you're saying give them the title now?
I'm going all in on the Moolus.
Oh,
yeah.
the chips are in.
Yeah, the chips are in.
OK, well, we noticed something in the FPC final yesterday. You may see it yourself. Let's roll the tape. Matthew Cooper, our president, a few awkward moments giving out the trophy to the Waikato team who went back-to-back. Just have a look at this, guys.
I thought it was just one.
Safe travels back to Hamilton, and we wish you all the best for the rest of the season, mate. Cheers. Thank you. We'll head over to Stephen Hoyles, who's with Congratulations.
Jeff's supporting everyone.
Jeff's not immune.
All right, well, let's head across to Richard Turner, who's amongst the crowd.
The old good on you, mate. Even those at the Masters aren't immune. But arguably the most awkward and most famous of them all, the three-way handshake at the 2011 Rugby World Cup. Have you... You've composed yourself yet?
There's a couple that have got me here.
What ones?
Oh, the great Matt Cooper, obviously Mulu, but also the great golden one, Jeffrey Wilson. Not here to defend himself either.
Now's the time if you get
I didn't realise the Highlanders had did him too. That's his team.
Have you been involved in any awkward handshakes?
I can't say I have, and I'm glad they didn't find any.
Hanging, and you haven't left anyone hanging, Millsy.
I never leave anyone hanging, mate. I'll go straight in there. You got to be aggressive when you go there, mate. You can't just be passive. You got to either go hard out or you just put your hand out there.
So that's where Jeff and Matthew Cooper went wrong, because they went for a wee midway, which causes confusion, shall we say?
Absolutely. I think I must say I've probably been caught in a few, to be fair. But
Tell us.
Just the trying to throw it out and then you miss something, or you're a bit late to the party. So I like what Mills is saying. It's good advice. You just got to be aggressive and get in.
Don't you try and make out that you haven't, mate. I know for a fact that you would have been right in there.
Clinical. Know what I'm going to do and do it.
No way. There must be tape that we need to bring up. Hey, look, Caleb Tangitau has been mentioned about 10,000 times. If Ruben Love was 1,000, he needs to be there on the end-of-year tour. Do you think we will see some new names in this end-of-year tour squad? You've loved Caleb Tangitau for the first part of Super Rugby anyway. Got injured. How's his form been for Auckland?
Yeah, I mean, I think if he goes on that tour, we're just going to scrub the Auckland stuff, because, I mean, anyone that's watched Auckland knows that it'd be a tough gig to be on the end of their chain.
Poor Batesy just scrubbing him in his first year.
Yeah, well, Batesy's, he's a forward. I'm talking about the poor backs out there. So, no, I think Tangitau certainly did enough in Super Rugby, if in a position that, I guess, if you're looking for that young excitement, cruds, to take a punt on in an end-of-year tour situation.
Are there players that you'd take a punt on that you've seen or played with or against in the NPC? Is there maybe a new person?
Oh, hard to think of one off the top of my head. I do like Caleb Tangitau. I think if they were going to go with an outside back, based on his Super Rugby form. But I think, you've probably got enough in the group already to give those guys opportunity, right? That probably haven't played as much as they would have wanted to.
We all know there'll be about 100 names on that list, though, for the end of year tour, which people are also mentioning, at least 60, right? Because there'll be the All Blacks.
Is that including staff?
There's 60 staff.
And cruds.
But there'll be the All Blacks, plus the New Zealand to 15 as well, so plenty of names. Thanks for joining us on The Breakdown. Best of luck against Otago.
Yes.
See you next week.
There. They'll look for a pick, he'll reach. Charlie's there. Puts another little grubber along the ground. Barrett chasing. They're going to try and sit up. Potter's there. The All Blacks kick through. Tupaea chasing. Quinn Tupaea. As Jordan takes it quickly. Away for Tupaea again. Quinn Tupaea the fin. Tupaea's in. Hardy again. Pops it up. Bowers through.